Imagine a world where Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and Jimmy Butler also played on the same floor as Dame Lillard. It could be a possibility. Per Mark Spears, the Golden State Warriors are interested in Lillard's services. The Oakland native was actually waived by the Milwaukee Bucks on Tuesday. The $113 million on his contract will be stretched. The reason they did that was to acquire Miles Turner. Lillard says he's ecstatic, or at least his agent said he's ecstatic to be a free agent a couple of years early. So if the Warriors were to sign Lillard, he would miss the 25-26 season, but there would be a legit final dance of Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green, Steph Curry, and Dame Lillard. The NBA is drunk, folks. Now to today's regularly scheduled programming. Everyone is making moves in the NBA except for the Golden State Warriors. What are they going to do?
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast.
What are they going to say now?
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Locked On Warriors. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, Monday through Friday. We shoot Golden State Warriors content your way whenever news breaks and live after every single game. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Now's a great time to join FanDuel because new customers get $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. You can find that on FanDuel.com. You can find the show wherever you get your audio podcasts. If you're hanging out with us right now on YouTube, definitely give us that thumbs up, hit the subscription button. It's free, and Golden State Warriors content will head your way left and right. My name's Charlie Walter, formerly of 95.7 The Game in the Bay Area. It's the flagship of the Golden State Warriors. Covered the team on TV for CVS. I just said TB and then CVS. So let's change those letters. TV for CBS News Bay Area. You can find me on social media, TikTok, @It's Charlie Walter, IG, CWalter22, Twitter, @CharlieWalterTV. Hit whichever is your favorite social media platform up right now and give me a follow for Warriors content. Evan Giddings is my co-host today. 95.7 The Game. He's a host there talking Warriors. Also on the call for the St. Mary's Gales men's basketball team on the radio. Evan, radio silence, man. We have heard nothing, and I mean literally nothing, in terms of a Golden State Warriors acquisition. The only news pertaining to the Warriors are two things thus far. One is Kevon Looney is now a member of the New Orleans Pelicans, $8 million a year over 2 years. And the other is it's very likely that the Warriors, I guess it was likely yesterday, now it seems to be a two-team battle with Al Horford, and the Lakers are the other team. So will they get their big man is the question to replace Kevon Looney. We're going to get into all these things on today's show. Let's start with a Looney tribute, man. This is your first time to react on this program to a stalwart, a 10-year veteran, a 3-time NBA champion, and one of the most important players in that 2022 title run, Kevon Looney. He's got to be missed, man. Forget everybody loves Raymond. Everybody loves Looney, truly.
Yeah, before we dig into free agency or the lack thereof for Golden State, I think that it's not hyperbole to say that beyond Curry, Clay, Draymond, KD, and Iguodala, in whatever order you have them in, Kevon Looney is the most beloved Golden State Warrior of this era. You know, he's a 3-time champion. He's someone that was probably more involved in the 2022 title. You know, he was bestowed the nickname Hakeem Olajuwon by Klay Thompson. Like, this guy is, I think, someone that every single father looks at and says, that should be someone that marries my daughter. Like, he's the person that everybody wants to be involved with their team, their lives, and has been involved and has been synonymous with Warriors basketball for the last decade. So for him to be moving on, it's definitely, it's not necessarily the end of an era, but it's definitely the end of one of the most beloved Warriors in my lifetime, certainly. And it's just, I think, reflective of the state of the franchise to have somebody who was a late first-round pick, kind of a developmental character, so to speak, at age 19, to be with this franchise for roughly a decade and to work his way up from a backup to someone who could check James Harden in a playoff series, to a starting center on a championship squad. He's reflective of everything that's good about the Warriors and also the NBA story. So big send off to Loon. Love that dude. Wish him nothing but the best and glad he got his bread in New Orleans.
It's pretty crazy to me that there are some people out there that would like to replace Looney with a player like DeAndre Ayton, who, say whatever you want about the talent that DeAndre Ayton has, as a human being, like it's just a completely different story. I mean, forget the fact that he skipped the game because he had icy roads in his neighborhood, whatever. Like some of the things that have come out about his behavior, showing up late to team flights and practices, skipping rehab sessions, slamming chairs when subbed out of the game, temper tantrums after being benched for lack of effort. Everything that is attached to DeAndre Ayton was the exact opposite of Kevon Looney, especially with the issues he's had with his hips and just, the lack of mobility that he's quite frankly lost. Like, you watch some of his clips from when he was in high school, and he was a completely different player. He was projected to be a completely different player, and he made it work because he was physical. He was hard-nosed. He came to work every single day. He represented that bring your own lunch pail mentality. And forget just the player that he was on the floor. We both had an opportunity to cover him. Just a good, salt of the earth, like, good dude. A truly good human being that was easy to talk to, that had a smile on his face, that would laugh at your questions, even if he probably didn't think they were funny. Extremely respectful. Truly, everybody loves Loon. So for one final time, he's going to go play with Jordan Poole and the Pelicans. We salute you, Kevon Looney. Any final words on Loon Dog before we unfortunately have to flip the page and he's nothing more than a memory, and I'm sure he will get a huge standing O at Chase this year.
Yeah, and he should. I think if there's one minor nugget that I can reveal that's reflective of the importance of Looney to that locker room, the moment you walk into the Golden State Warriors locker room, on the right is Steph Curry. On the left, the first locker is Kevon Looney, or was, I should say. And that's because that's the cachet, that's the respect that he had from that organization that he earned. And Kevon Looney is, I think, one of the best dudes in the NBA, and certainly one of the better guys to come through Golden State since I've been a fan and obviously have started covering the team. He's a pleasure to talk to. He's someone that you could always, I think, hit with a question, get a real answer from, and someone that every single young player is going to miss, going through there. So, and the old guys too. He was in many ways the glue, I think, to the multiple generations for Golden State. So you're right. So salute to Loon. And again, you wish that guy nothing but the best because that's all he gave Golden State.
And he was a perfect fit for the Warriors system, did all the dirty work that they needed, set amazing screens that allowed Curry to get free. And I remember NBA championship in 22 in Boston, we needed kind of a filler piece. The game was going on Eastern time, and there was a newscast at KPIX, and Brian Day, my producer, just sent me out on the streets, to get some sound from Celtics fans walking in. He's like, ask him who Kevon Looney is, because earlier in the day at a press conference, we had asked Looney, like, hey, do you feel kind of, disrespected that a lot of people aren't saying your name despite the fact that you're grabbing 20 rebounds against Memphis and kind of being an unsung hero that's propelling this team to the NBA finals? And he was just kind of like, I like it that way. And so we asked a bunch of fans, who's the Warriors starting center? And we got like Andrew Wiggins. We got a bunch of I don't knows. We got a Kevon Looney, not a single Celtics fan. And they claim to know ball, said the name Kevon Looney. So that's kind of what he was, right? He did it in silence. He didn't expect a lot. He was never getting highlights on SportsCenter. He never had an over-the-shoulder graphic on SportsCenter or anything like that. Just kind of did his work, and Dub Nation really, really recognized it. And Pelicans fans, if you're watching, you're getting a real one. Kevon Looney is there's a reason why there's so many Warriors fans right now paying their respects. Unfortunately, the Warriors need a center. Quentin Post and Trace Jackson Davis heading into next season. Sure, it's a team that has been pretty good at somehow utilizing a system that hasn't had consistent centers over the years, but you got to have more than Post and Trace Jackson Davis. Al Horford is a name that's been brought up. It's been very closely tied to the Warriors, but still nothing on that front. as of 5 o'clock Pacific time on the 1st of July. So we will monitor that situation. We'll talk about potential backups if he were to go to the Lakers. We'll talk about this coming up on Locked On Warriors. First, let's tell you about FanDuel. Evan, I got to ask you. Evan's not there, so I'm not going to ask him. Okay, I'll ask you. Yeah. Have you heard of the Nerfy before? You're trying to get a quick water break in there, weren't you, Evan? You heard of the Nerfy in baseball before?
No, have I heard of the Nerfy? It's something that I swing and miss on every single time I bet on a baseball game.
Well, you don't swing and miss on FanDuel. In fact, if you win a Nerfy and place $5 on it, you'll get $150 in bonus bets. That is guaranteed. But a Nerfy is a no-run first inning. Find 2 pitchers that are hurling and pray for 6 out. Cross your fingers and then tell your buddies you're the smartest man in the room. If that's too long, a 15-minute time investment, you can literally bet first pitch is going to be a strike. They're going to hurl it down the middle. You could bet run lines for extra juice, or you could take over-unders. You could find it on FanDuel.com. Right now is a great time for new customers. You will get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins, because nothing goes like gambling and baseball. It's a perfect combination. We've always known this, Evan, and you can find it on FanDuel.com. So the Warriors and the center position. It has not been a priority in years past, or at least a priority that they've hit on over the years. They have made attempts. Last year, Lowry Markkanen. You want to call him a center or a stretch 4, whatever. Quentin Post, they drafted him. Trace Jackson Davis, again, is he a 4? Is he a center? They drafted him. But the Warriors have really done most of their work bringing in centers off smaller deals, Saric, and second-round draft picks. They have not really taken that big swing on a center. It doesn't appear they're going to do that this offseason. It doesn't appear they're going to do much this offseason. But before we get into the center position as a whole, let's kind of just talk about where the Warriors stand right now, and that is the exact same as the last time we saw them, minus Kevon Looney. Absolutely nothing has changed. Is this the way they're going to look when they go into the season? Because we know they have 9-10 guys that are probably slotted in on this roster right now. Will they not do anything in free agency? Will they attack the trade market? Like, this is what we expected, right? Yet we're still kind of panicking because around the league, everyone is doing something, including the Milwaukee Bucks, waiving Dame Lillard and giving that money to Miles Turner, who I hoped kind of was wearing the Warriors blue and gold.
Yeah, I wonder how much we would be looking at the inactivity of the Warriors as a negative if Jimmy Butler had been acquired at the beginning of free agency. Like, to me, I do think that Warriors fans have to look at the trade deadline in February and the beginning of free agency as kind of connected. Like, the whole reason why they're not out shopping for a Miles Turner or in the trade market for a Kristaps Porzingis, for any of these big market centers that you and I would love to have in Golden State next year, is because they have 3 players that make 90% of their cap in Jimmy Butler, Steph Curry, and Draymond Green. Curry's going to be the highest paid player in basketball next year. Jimmy Butler is going to be the 6th highest paid basketball player in the league next year. That doesn't give you a ton of flexibility. So the fact the Warriors have been dormant doesn't shock me, and it shouldn't necessarily scare people. I know that the West is looking like a bear. Denver's getting better. Houston's making trades and is getting acquisitions. Even the Clippers getting a backup big like Brook Lopez is a good get for them. San Antonio is going to take a leap. Dallas, like, there's a lot of good teams in the West, but the Warriors are betting on their big 3. And now it's just about, all right, really like the vet min market. Like, to me, the moves that should frustrate people, Chuck, would be like, all right, Bruce Brown choosing Denver on a vet min deal, a particular center choosing a team on a vet min deal, because that means they didn't choose the Warriors and they don't think the Warriors are a good spot for them. But the idea of not being able to acquire Miles Turner or, name any, even a Luke Cornett, who's a 4 for 41 player in San Antonio, like, that's not available to them because of the guy we do have to talk about at some point. The big domino that has to fall first is Jonathan Kaminga. And until he makes a decision and the Warriors sign or choose to trade him, really nothing else is able to happen outside of using a taxpayer mid-level to get somebody like an Al Horford.
I want to get into Kaminga in a minute, but you led me right into Al Horford, who, as of right now, still not a Golden State Warrior. It sounds like it's down to two teams, last I heard, the Lakers and the Warriors. And the Lakers had some interest in DeAndre Ayton. Do you feel like this is a situation where whoever doesn't get Horford lands with Ayton, that sort of thing? Because Ayton's got to go somewhere, right? Or do you just think that the Warriors and the organization that they've built and the competitors that they brought through this door would want no part of DeAndre Ayton? Or is it we can fix him?
I don't think the Warriors would be a good fit for DeAndre Ayton. He's someone who needs the ball. He doesn't space the floor. He doesn't really play defense. He's obviously a lot younger than Al Horford, and he's a big body. But everything that the Warriors have been trying to acquire, and really, like, if they wanted a DeAndre Ayton, not exact prototype, but if they wanted a third center, they should have just kept Kevon Looney. But that player, and I think DeAndre Ayton might cost a little more than Looney even did. That player's not for them. So to me, like, it is a little bit Al Horford or bust. I was looking around at other centers possibly if Horford chooses the Lakers. Ayton is a guy. I think also someone like Precious Achua for the formerly the New York Knicks might be a potential body they could look at. He's young, he's athletic, gave them good minutes in the playoffs at times. But again, you're scraping bottom of the barrel in regards to the center market. That's what kind of sucks for Golden State is they put themselves in a position where they're last in line for any of these dudes. And so while Al Horford is not like a major sexy get, and I would feel uncomfortable at having a front line of 35 and 39 years old next year, Al Horford is kind of the perfect piece for Golden State. And I do think that they are not all in on him, they need him. That's who they really need. Yes.
They need him because what's your backup option? You go into next season with Quentin Post and Trace Jackson Davis as your two centers on the roster. Trace Jackson Davis went half the season not getting minutes, it felt like. And honestly, I felt pretty good about his game towards the end of the season, or at least better than I did at points. And I know the Warriors are extremely high on Quentin Post and the development that he could have this season. But let's say, knock on wood, Post goes down. You're so screwed. I mean, they may be screwed regardless. Let's get real. But you are so screwed if Trace Jackson Davis is the only person above 6'8" on an NBA roster. You're not a real contender. Like, you don't need a dominant Jokic. You don't need some center that can put up 15 and 9, but you need some size, some vertical ability to affect shots on the defensive end of the floor. And that's something that they just would not have. And then catastrophe, both go down. So you need depth at that position. I don't even think they have depth at the G League in those spots.
No, the other name I'll throw out there is Chris Boucher, who ironically was a Golden State Warrior to start his career, but is someone that he is a depth piece though. Like, and this is really the biggest issue that the Warriors have at their center spot is they don't have a starter. Like, even Al Horford at this stage in his career he's a starting center player, but like not for 70 games, not for 35 minutes. There's no one out there that's going to fill that role. I think the way that people want him to. Trey Lyles is someone who could play a small five and space the floor. Boucher can shoot a little bit, but I think he's only started 20 games in his entire career. Like, they do need Al Horford to say yes to them. Otherwise, it is going to be a backup center, to your point, Chuck, that's there just because they got to have 3 5s on the team. And it's just, they're going to rotate them, and you're going to hear Kerr talk a lot about combinations, and we're finding a fit, and it's going to be the same challenge as last year, just at a different position.
Remember, Kerr said, we're not just going to sign size to have size if they can't play. Well, that may not be true. You may just sign size to have size, because at some point you can't have Draymond Green as your primary center for 82 games. It just cannot be done. I want to talk about the center position some more coming up. Also, Jonathan Kaminga. It's a huge domino that has to fall. That is ahead on Locked On Dubs. Let's finish this conversation on the center position. It seems like Al Horford or bust. He's been made a priority. It's a pretty tough situation to be in, that a 39-year-old is really your prime option there, especially considering the fact that Jimmy Butler is not known to really give it his all during the regular season at all times. Steph Curry needs breathers. Draymond Green could use some breathers. And you got to win games to avoid a play-in, or you're going to have the same situation as last year where it's win or go home, or even worse, in a West that may be very, very tightly contested. You're a game back with a couple contests left in the season because Al Horford only played 56 and Curry played 61 and Jimmy played 64. That is the issue with having an old team. Come playoff time, Al Horford, he's fine to me. He can get the job done in that situation. But regular season, when you need young, fresh bodies, that's why, bringing back E. Santos and Quentin Post is nice. But they need these young, fresh bodies, and it just does not seem like there are a ton out there that can really help them win games in the regular season when they need players to step up. That is my biggest issue with the center position right now. And you hit the nail on the head. You don't want to go into another season without a starting center. It's mind-boggling that we're still in this position. But here we are, man. I mean, this is the Warriors. They try to get it done the small way.
Yeah, and it's frustrating. And you look at a team like Houston, who signs Clint Capella, re-signs Steven Adams. Like, they have three. And I realize that Capella and Steven Adams are probably not, starters at this stages in their career, but
options.
They are not lacking size whatsoever. They have so many different ways to play. And should one go down, one will be right there to step up. And you got multiple 7-footers. Like, the Warriors don't have any. And I'm with you also about kind of the forward spot. You're right. I don't think Jimmy Butler is going to play 70 games this year. So the guys out there that are left, like the top 20 free agents right now, are pretty much off the board. So, Chuck, you're looking at guys like Kevin Porter Jr. You're looking at guys like Larry Nance, Amir Coffey. You're looking at Ryan Rollins, a potential Warriors cast-off now that got let go by the Bucks. Like, you're looking at players that, again, are not true fits, but are going to have to be square peg and round holes kind of contributions for Golden State this season. And I know that the Warriors might seem like they're a little more built for the postseason at this point because they are top heavy, but you got to get through the regular season first. And right now, if I'm power ranking the West, the Warriors are probably at about the same point they finished last year, 6th or 7th, and they're vying for a play-in spot, hoping to get in the top 6. And it's just
that's if healthy
situation. Yeah.
And that's if healthy. That's the biggest thing with this entire situation. Jonathan Kaminga is the biggest player this offseason that we're keeping an eye on. Obviously, we believe that he can turn into something good, whether it's as a contributor next year, whether it's as a player at the deadline that has some more value. But in terms of the open market, and maybe there's stuff going on behind the scenes, I think the NBA's kind of spoken on the value of Jonathan Kaminga. And it's just like he may be better off as a Warrior. If they don't get a good sign and trade offer that returns him a solid player, they're going to take their chances with Kaminga. They're going to give him tons of run early in the season, especially, he's going to be the catalyst on load management nights and on back-to-backs. They're going to give Kaminga the ball and say, get out of the way, everyone else, give us 35, play better defense. And then if that happens, you do have some flexibility mid-season because the Warriors obviously have a timeline that is win this second. And some teams that, may be faltering, that want a backup plan, could potentially throw the Warriors one more player and do a trade then and there for Jonathan Kaminga and extend him long-term. But I have no idea what to think of this entire situation. It's somewhat poetic that this entire saga has dragged on this long, and now it's just kind of handcuffing the Warriors.
Yeah, the biggest issue they're running into right now is that Kaminga thinks he's worth something that nobody else does, including the Warriors.
Except commenters on this show.
Yeah, that's fair. But seriously, like if the reports are true that Kaminga thinks he's worth $30 million per year, nobody on the market, nobody in the league in 2025-26 is going to give him that money. And that's where the Warriors are stuck because they probably think he's between $20 and $30 million player. Perhaps some other team does, but the Nets just ate a whole ton of money to acquire an albatross contract in Michael Porter Jr. If they really thought Kaminga was worth 25 to 30 million per year, they would have made him an offer. They're not trying to win. That was the last straw to me, Chuck. When I saw the Nets do that to acquire a protected pick 7 years, or an unprotected pick 7 years from now, that lets me know that they're not trying to get into the business of JK. And so the issue is that the Warriors need him to make a choice for them to do stuff in free agency, and he won't want to because he thinks he's worth more money than is out there for him. I think we could be coming to a head of him just accepting the qualifying offer, taking the $8 million, and then becoming an unrestricted free agent next year and figuring that out, because the Warriors have no reason to offer him a contract outside of trying to get the rest of their offseason going. And he clearly wants more money than is on the table for him. And that's the big hang up to me.
A couple more things in free agency that I guess pertain to the Warriors. Dennis Schroeder, not a longtime Warrior, but a Warrior, is heading up north to Sacramento. He got paid a lot of money, man. Did you see the contract?
Yeah, for 45, I think.
So $15 million a year for Dennis Schroeder. It is a lot of money considering how he looked on the Warriors. And that, to me, is a perfect example of there are fits. There are fits for certain teams. Dennis Schroeder was not one of those fits. So you hope that the Warriors can work around the edges and kind of find the players that do fit into the system schematically that are a little bit cheaper. But they are handcuffed to a certain degree. And Jonathan Kaminga is going to be a huge piece to all of this. I'm still hoping maybe a Moses Moody plus draft picks for Herb Jones deal could get done to help defensively. But even then, is it enough to bring them to one of the top teams in the Western Conference? We'll see. I mean, Jimmy, Draymond, Steph together, Buddy shooting, another year of growth from potentially Pods, Moody, Kaminga, those sorts of things. Like, Warriors can be better than they were a season ago. But a lot of it is staying healthy, and better than a season ago was still not good enough because they got their asses kicked by the Wolves, granted an asterisk next to it. Evan, any final thoughts for the way out the door?
Man, I'm waiting for something as much as everyone else is. I hope the Warriors are able to, at this point, get the Horford deal done. Maybe there's something else around the margins, and then obviously the ball we're waiting to drop is Kaminga, because that to me is the most shout out Zed clarity that they can provide on this offseason is what they're going to do with this guy, and hopefully it'll give us a lot of solace in the meantime.
Zed clarity. Unbelievable song. All right, Locked On Warriors, free and available wherever you get your podcast. Peace, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Evan Giddings, the guest today. Always appreciated. CF.